This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. A Tasmanian coroner has found an elderly woman who died while sleeping in a shipping container during freezing conditions could still be alive today if she'd been provided the necessities of life. Olivia McTaggart today handed down her inquest findings, saying the woman's daughter and son-in-law exploited her financially, neglected her health and refused offers of outside help. Louise Hedger filed this report a short time ago.
Jessie and Michael Anglin appeared via video link here at Hobart Magistrates Court this afternoon. They've both already served a wholly suspended 2-year sentence after being charged with manslaughter following the 2010 death of Janet McCosdy. That death prompted a coronial inquest with those findings handed down today. Coroner Olivia McTaggart describing the 77-year-old's death as entirely preventable and the case one of serious neglect and exploitation. Janet McCosdy died from hypothermia while staying in a shipping container on her daughter and son-in-law's Mount Lloyd property in the winter of 2010. Temperatures were below freezing and the container not insulated, with gaps between the windows and the doors. The court heard her worsening dementia and other health conditions were inadequately cared for and that she should have been in a nursing home. Despite this, the Anglins refused any outside assistance, regardless of her daughter being trained as a nurse and her son-in-law a disability support worker. When giving evidence, Mrs Anglin had said she thought her mother would be happiest around her family. Coroner McTaggart saying the decision to not place her into care was influenced by the fact she was a money source. Evidence collected during the inquest showed 2/3 of McCosdy's money was spent while under her family's care, continuing until after her death, ranging from basic living expenses to luxury items, which were of no benefit to her. Findings also showing the elderly woman had previously lived a simple life, was careful with her money and kept her affairs in order and loved her grandchildren. In closing this afternoon, the coroner said Janet McCosdy was once a dignified and refined lady and deserved respect in the last years of her life and in her death, but that wasn't provided. In handing down her recommendations, the coroner urged the government to reform its elder abuse legislation, saying the issue's only going to get worse with our ageing population. The government says it will consider the findings, but it is already taking part in a national plan to tackle the issue.
It's been revealed Border Force officials were involved in a police operation which saw 40 officers raid properties in Newstead and Waverley yesterday. The major hauls raking in firearms, stolen property and almost $500,000 worth of illicit drugs.
This is what was uncovered during Operation Alert. 12 firearms, stolen tools and a quantity of illicit drugs among a mammoth haul impounded during early morning raids yesterday.
This is a significant seizure for Tasmania Police and Tasmania Police will continue to interdict with those in the community who intend to cause the community harm.
The drugs seized including a quantity of amphetamine, MDMA, heroin and cannabis, with an estimated street value of around $500,000.
We believe the majority of the drugs are probably for local consumption. Drugs of this nature cause harm in the community. We're well aware of this.
A 36-year-old man and a 39-year-old man, both known to police, were taken into custody, with one fronting court this morning, both facing a number of charges.
One of the male persons has been charged with unlawful possession of stolen property. One of the other males has been charged, amongst other things, in trafficking in a controlled drug. We do expect that there will be further charges laid.
Now police are on the hunt for any other culprits.
We've got significant work to do now to the seizures that we obtained yesterday in identifying a number of other persons who we believe may be involved.
It's here at this former meatworks on Kilafatti Road in Newstead where the majority of the property was recovered. Police say some of the items were stolen up to 12 months ago. Authorities say this was the easy part, with a lengthy investigation to follow.
The actual hard work now comes in the analysis of what we've got to do. So the DNA and the fingerprint and all the other evidence that we seized yesterday.
Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Judy Augustine, Southern Cross News.
Members of the Tasmanian Aboriginal community have rallied through the centre of Hobart today. As part of this year's NAIDOC Week celebrations, activists are calling for greater recognition through the creation of a formal treaty.
passionate protesters fighting for recognition. The Tasmanian Aboriginal community marching through the streets of Hobart, their chant demanding change.
We once owned 100% of Tasmania, we now only own 0.06%. So I feel like the best way to acknowledge the loss that the Aboriginal people here in Tasmania have had to go through would be to reach some form of treaty.
You don't have to have Aborigines in poverty for 200 years. We can have a share of the wealth. So these are the sorts of things a treaty would deal with.
A treaty would include returning all Crown land to Aboriginal people and providing money to maintain that land. Also dedicated seats in Parliament. But the state government has never supported a Tasmanian treaty, instead favouring a national approach.
We can make the difference, and that would bring the people of Tasmania closer together so that we can respect each other and we can work together and have a mutual benefit from it.
Each July, NAIDOC Week recognises the history, culture and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. This year's theme, Because of Her, We Can, a celebration of Indigenous women.
We're here to celebrate them, those achievements, and talk about what we can do moving forward so that Aboriginal people can reach some form of agreement with non-Aboriginal people.
Similar marches were held across Australia today as activists continue to campaign for Aboriginal rights. Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
The Director of Public Health says teenagers may still be eligible for a free meningococcal vaccine through their GP after a school-based program ended in April. The reminder comes after a teenage girl died from the infection at the Royal Hobart Hospital yesterday. The Director saying Tasmania records around 5 cases a year, and if left untreated, the disease can be fatal.
It's not something that should be taken as an outbreak or cause for exceptional alarm, but it really should just raise awareness of the significance of severe symptoms and the importance of early treatment.
Yesterday's death was Tasmania's first case of meningococcal disease this year. With the battle for Braddon in full swing, the Liberals have shifted the focus to defence, with Federal Minister Julie Bishop announcing Burnie's Direct Edge Manufacturing has pre-qualified to be part of the supply chain for shipbuilding company BAE. This means it could produce the materials to build world-class frigates.
Now stand the opportunity to be part of a significant build. This is going to mean more jobs here in Tasmania. It will mean more advanced manufacturing jobs.
Very pleased that BA have announced that we are one of their preferred suppliers. The expectations for us are, well, as I said, we are looking for new employees all the time, and this just increases that factor now.
Direct Edge Manufacturing says the announcement could more than double the size of its business. Thousands of Tasmanians are preparing to brave the cold tonight and head to the Huon Valley's Mid-Winter Fest. The annual event has just kicked off and is expecting record crowds over the weekend. Our reporter Michelle Wisby is there now. Good evening, Michelle. You look very rugged up for the night. What's the atmosphere like?
Down here in the Huon Valley this evening, but that is not stopping the crowds. There's already a lot of people around ready to start enjoying the Midwinter Festival. But right now I am here with Sam, who is the festival director. So Sam, tickets are already up 20% on last year. What's happening here over the weekend?
Well, as you know, we're a pagan festival, and so we're really excited this year to introduce an Australian Indigenous element with a welcome ceremony from the Narayani crew. We've also got a couple of amazing bands down from the mainland. We've got Volgograd and 8 Foot Felix, and they'll be rocking the festival all tonight and tomorrow night. And of course, a massive Sunday plan with all the kids, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. So there you go, Joe. It's all happening down here all weekend. But if you are coming down, I would definitely recommend rugging up because it is pretty chilly.
My word, it looks a bit cold, but you do look very warm. Thank you very much for that, Michelle. And on the topic of festivals, an eclectic mix of artists has been announced today for an upcoming series of afternoon gigs. Design Tasmania and Mona are collaborating to present free performances each fortnight on a Sunday. Mofo sessions will showcase a diverse range of talent in the lead up to the Summer Mona Foma Festival.
The acoustics in this space are incredible. and just the layout and the structure of the space itself is really going to afford for a great community event.
We're confident in a great turnout and look forward to seeing everyone here on a Sunday afternoon.
Local DJ AQO will kick things off this weekend. A record number of Tasmanian women are now being screened for breast cancer, but many are still missing out on the potentially life-saving test. Last year, more than 32,000 women had a mammogram at Breast Screen Tasmania, but despite these numbers, the proportion of women accessing the service is going down. 40% of all Tasmanian women are still not having regular checks, which can take just 10 minutes. The service says if breast cancer is found early, it can be cured in up to 90% of cases.
The biopsy results came back and as it was early stage breast cancer. So I was very fortunate to have made the time to go and have my mammogram when I did, because if I hadn't, I might not be here today.
Whilst we're seeing more women, what we need to recognise is that actually that cohort is growing. So the actual proportion of women in that age group is not increasing at all.
All Tasmanian women aged between 50 and 74 are urged to have a breast screening every 2 years. Well, Tasmanians are being challenged to cut back on waste for Plastic-Free July. The race to recycle everything from cups to straws is something one environmental group wants to see continue beyond this month.
From your lunch to your latte, plastic is everywhere. It's clogging our waterways and damaging our ecosystem, and this is motivating Tasmanians to make a change.
Saying no to a plastic straw, not using a plastic water bottle or buying bottled water, taking your own bag, your own containers, those sorts of things.
Plastic-Free Launceston is seeing more businesses than ever pushing plastic out. The organisation challenging more of us to wipe out the waste for the month of July.
The participation has really increased, particularly compared with this time last year.
Cardboard straws and keep cups are some options for customers to use, while some businesses are taking their eco efforts to the next level.
We use cardboard that can be recycled. We do encourage people to bring in their own containers as well, just to reduce waste.
And from all reports so far, the swap from plastic to paper has patrons pleased.
People are stoked on it, absolutely love it. You know, as soon as we switched over to them, people were commenting on it as soon as we started. People were getting plastic straws and they were refusing them, or, asking for paper and all that. And the manager here, he jumped on it probably 6 months ago, and huge positive feedback ever since.
For those partaking in the pledge, the environment is the main motivation.
Every little bit that we do to cut down our impact on the environment is going to help long term.
Grace Gardner, Southern Cross News.
Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. Australian shares have finished flat after a yo-yo final trading session of the week in which weakness among the banks outweighed advances by healthcare stocks. You can see the ASX 200 index has barely moved. Just a short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 74.2 US cents and 109.56 New Zealand cents.
North Hobart faces another daunting task this week against a confident Launceston at Windsor Park. But the D's have another problem off the field, getting the lights turned on at training. If North Hobart's year hasn't been hard enough, a bizarre new issue has entered the mix, with former Melbourne Demon Colin Garland claiming the Hobart City Council refuses to turn on the floodlights for training until 5:45 to reduce foot traffic on the ground.
And coming from VFL and AFL, that's just that's the sort of stuff that you get laughed at as a state.
But the council says there has been some miscommunication, claiming the club's oval booking only begins at 6 o'clock, with the nearby Newtown Oval booked from 5.
I'm pretty sure the Hobart Council have an election this year, so it'd be good for one of those councillors, if they want to be mayor, to come out and say, I support local sport, and they'll actually turn the lights on.
The bottom of the table side comes up against Launceston, which nearly upset its crosstown rival last week.
You're never happy losing, but it was certainly a performance that as a club that will help us grow and move in the right direction.
Lonergan will miss the clash, but is likely to return next week against Lauderdale. After a tumultuous lead-up, the intrastate clash between the Southern Football League and the Northern Tasmanian Football Association will go ahead tomorrow. The SFL says it now has an enthusiastic young side ready to go after initially struggling for numbers. The NTFA boss says he remembers plenty of pride in the fixture from the pre-TSL days.
I remember many years ago when there wasn't a statewide competition, you would have rivalry between the north and the northwest and the south, and you would get massive crowds there. And we would love to see that to come back and just see that regional rivalry continue.
It's on at North Hobart Oval from 2 o'clock. And Hawthorn players have stretched their legs on Newtas Stadium ahead of tomorrow's clash against Brisbane. Fans getting a sneak peek at their heroes today, lining the perimeter of the ground. A strong crowd is expected to welcome Luke Hodge back in maroon, blue and gold. The World Cup may be close to winding down, but the NPL title is heating up, with the Italian derby expected to go down as the match of the round. Just 3 points separate Launceston City and the Hobart Zebras on the league table, with both teams remaining in striking distance of Devonport for the coveted top spot.
Neither can afford Cristiano Ronaldo, but passion alone is sure to drive two teams with Juventus heritage when they clash on Saturday afternoon. In a tight title race, Hobart Zebras need a win over Launceston City to cement their claim as a genuine contender with 8 rounds still to play.
In round 1 when we faced them, where we were both top of the table, so I think that gives us a little extra motivation to kind of, like, we owe them one, especially since they came down here and took points from us. It'd be nice to do the same to them.
With coaching ninja Gabriel Marquez still sidelined for another fortnight due to suspension, the Zebras will have his older brother Alexander mustering the back line and carrying the coach's message onto the park.
Soccer-wise, I think they both have the same passion. He's kind of solidified our back line right in there. Him and Jan have a really good partnership now, so he's a calming presence back there.
In the weekend's other matches, Clarence take on Olympia in the Eastern Shore Derby, Devonport play host to Kingborough, and on Sunday, South Hobart take on the Northern Rangers. To basketball, and the Launceston Tornadoes will be relying on another standout game from Lauren Nicholson when they play Diamond Valley tomorrow night. Nicholson has made the Seabull Team of the Week 7 times in 2018 and is consistently scoring in excess of 25 points per game.
It's important that we win to keep our finals hopes alive. We need to stay in the top 8, so probably the most important game of the season.
In this weekend's other Seabull action, the Northwest Thunder also take on Diamond Valley, while the Hobart Chargers men's and women's team are on the road to Ballarat and Dandenong. Andrew McCarthy, Southern Cross News.
Richie Porte is clawing his way back into the Tour de France title race after a blistering finish in Stage 6 overnight. The Tasmanian charged in a tense final kilometre to come within reach of the overall top 10. A hilly stage perfect for climbers like Richie Porte. Teams began in northwest France, bound for the steep ascent to Mur-de-Breton. Entering the final 100 kilometres, strong winds split the peloton. Tom Scoynes retained the polka dot King of the Mountain jersey and collected the bonus points. Porte stuck by BMC in the peloton until the famous climb. A relentless 7% rise. From fourth wheel, Porte pounced.
Richie Porte's on the attack. This is a long way to go, 1.2 kilometres. Porte showing himself at the front.
The Tasmanian facing the final kilometre in a frenzied flash of foes.
Bardet struggling, Dan Martin, he's holding the gap. He's over the steepest part of the climb. He's left the peloton the same way he did in 2015. This time, he's the first man off the front and lining up for victory if he can hold them off into the headwind.
Dan Martin becoming the hunted.
Can Martin hold on? It's Richie Porte, he's the one setting the pace behind. 500 metres to go, it seems never ending.
But there was no catching him, Porte finishing 3 seconds behind.
Martin is celebrating. The Irishman, he gets there.
Greg Van Avermaet retains the yellow jersey. Porte is just outside the top 10, 53 seconds off the lead.
Good evening. Well, it was a chilly old start today, wasn't it? Overnight temperatures were up to 6 degrees below average, with Lyowini and Lake Leak posting a -6. Hobart, Launceston and Devonport 13 degrees today, and Burnie 14. 15 was the high at Eddystone Point. Smithton, St Helens and Friendly Beaches all 14 degrees. Low Head and the Islands 13. Grove, Ouse and Strawn 12. Now, apart from a band of cloud over the south and west, we had fairly clear skies over Tasmania today, a fair bit off the east coast. There is a frontal band of cloud moving across the Bight, with patchy low-level cloud over the southwest of WA, the rest of the nation fairly clear. Tomorrow, the high over New South Wales extends a ridge that connects to Tasmania. A low pressure trough runs from Western Australia into South Australia, with a cold front approaching the west coast as well. Southwest to southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots, tending northerly in the west and increasing to 15 to 20 knots, swells to 4 metres. Hobart tomorrow. Saturday starts out with an early shower, clearing later. 11 the top, just 10 for Maydena and 9 for Oatlands after a chilly beginning. Launceston, morning frost, -1, 13 the top tomorrow. 12 the high for Devonport, a late shower moving in. Lyowini, a morning frost, but a mostly sunny afternoon and a top of 5. 12 for Burnie and sunny, partly cloudy for Strawn, 13 the maximum. 12 for Marrawar, maybe an afternoon shower. And for St Helens, partly cloudy, 12. 12 for Swansea. Orford, an early shower clearing, and 11 the high. On Sunday, showers over the north and west, fine elsewhere after morning fog and frost. Mainly fine on Monday, apart from a shower over the north and west. And on Tuesday, showers more frequent over the north and west again, snow to 800 metres. A late storm forecast for Perth on the Big Island tomorrow. Sunny in Adelaide and Melbourne. Also sunny for Sydney and Brisbane as well, with fine conditions up the east coast. Mostly cloudy at the moment. Hobart 8 degrees, clear in Launceston 5, clear in Devonport as well, and 8 degrees at the moment. Joe, have to rug up this weekend. We've got the Winterfest on. We'll be rugging up for the football at in Launceston, with of course the Lions coming down to take on the Hawks. Should be a good game.
Hope so. We love a good game of footy. Thanks so much for that, Merv. That's all from the team for now. Have a great evening. We'll see you a bit later with updates. Bye-bye.